It's a funny week. We are off. We'll be off 2 or 3 days. Stress of finals. Um, Guys have obviously a lot of work to do. The positive thing for us was that we were home last week. Historically, like the last couple of years, we've been on the road that last week of classes. So this has been a real positive time for us. Um, Again, we'll get back into it on an official regular schedule on Thursday. We're off tomorrow. Wednesday's just going to be a lift day. Thursday is when we'll get the back, get those guys back, and then we really won't have anything positive from them until Friday when finals get done. It's a mentally stressing time for them.
You're about 40% of the way through the season. How far along are you, do you think, on your, if you were to chart it, are you on being where you want or need to be?
I thought that we had as a year 2 really tough stretches, and we are about to embark on our next one. The first one was to start the year like we did, with 6 out of 8 being on the road. We are going into what I, have talked with our staff, gauntlet number 2, and that is, we're 6 out of 8 again on the road now, up through our first, 5 conference games. So, this team handled the first test, I thought, extremely well. Now we go to two good teams in Florida. Come back and have an opener, and then you go 4 out of 5 to start in the league. It's a pretty daunting task for a program. And
Do you start to take a look at some of the conference teams or look at tape of them, this week?
you know what, Joe, this week I do actually. I mean, I spent about over the last 2 days probably about 5 or 6 hours on South Florida and 2 to 3 hours on Bethune-Cookman, and then I did what I would call pleasure couple hours, where I just started looking at some games of people that we're going to coming up on, like UIC's having a tremendous year. Watch them, just a snapshot to try to see what how they're playing so well. Got a chance to watch Michigan State against Loyola, which is our second league conference game. Watched Detroit play the other night. So, yeah, I have. I've definitely looked at some of our league opponents.
Anything else?
What about game coming up against USF?
Very, very good basketball game. It was one of our motivations for this year with scheduling was to try to get our Florida guys back to Florida. Blake, Kendrick, 2 guys that are staples in our program, have been such good players for us. And then obviously after the fact, we kind of got, we were recruiting Bobby at the time, but when this schedule was made up, it was to try to get those guys, back to Florida. So South Florida is very, very good, very physical. The NCAA team of last year, they play a totally different style than anybody that we have faced this year. Very, very methodical, very, very big. Their 2 guard is 6'6", their 3 is 6'7". They got 2 huge monster kids inside, and they really like to grind you. So it'll be we have our hands full with that challenge, but our goal was to get 2 of the guys that have meant so much to our program and to me personally, to get them back and try to play in front of their family.
Anything you want to work on this week? You can always improve, but is there any areas?
To be perfectly honest with you, I've divided the week up into, basically 2 segments. The first segment is just conditioning and keeping our legs. So we were on the floor today for 45 minutes, and we did nothing but run and shoot and try to keep their conditioning up. Wednesday, Thursday will be the exact same thing. Very little quote-unquote basketball in terms of emphasizing, de-emphasizing. We didn't rebound the ball well Saturday night. We haven't done any of those kind of things. And then, Friday, Saturday, Sunday's practices, we'll get right back to it. It'll be a little bit like, the first day will be a little bit like it was in preseason. We'll get right back to it. Just a ton of, a ton of fundamentals. Again, have our work cut out a little bit for us because we don't get to be in our facility because of graduation here. But we'll get right back to some, basic fundamentals and really working on those kind of things. And then Saturday, we'll get back to, starting to focus on preparing again now for 2 games. So, the week's kind of divided up in the conditioning, nothing mental for our guys in terms of doing anything, just, kind of keep their legs fresh and keep them in shape. And then get back to some fundamentals, and then, bam, we'll be back into preparing for South Florida.